Hey folks, today's episode is brought to you by Hood Adjacent with James Davis on Comedy Central. Born and raised in South Central LA, 1 block away from where shit goes down, as he calls it, James Davis shares his perspective on the world he grew up in and the world he grew up next to. The New York Times says Hood Adjacent is bridging the racial divide one joke at a time. And Vanity Fair is calling James Davis the star we need right now. Don't miss Hood Adjacent, Wednesdays at 9, 8 Central on Comedy Central, or catch up right now on cc.com and the Comedy Central app. All right, let's do the show. Happy 4th of July.
Lock the gate.
All right, let's do this. How are you, what the fuckers, what the fuck buddies, what the fuckineers, what the fuckocrats, what the fuck publicans, and the what the fuck nicks? What's happening? I'm Marc Maron. This is my podcast, WF. Holy shit. What's happening to me? Is it the statins? What is it? This is my podcast. Just what fuck? No the. What fuck? Wow. Brain skid. Jesus, what is happening? I can do this. All right. Welcome to the show, by the way. This is Independence Day weekend. The 4th of July is tomorrow, if you're listening to this on Monday. And as I do every year, obviously where I live here in Highland Park, on the east side of Los Angeles County, the 4th of July started weeks ago. So it's a slow build. We're well prepared here in Highland Park for what's about to happen. I'm going to go up on my roof for a little while. Then I'm going to go over to my buddy Dan's from Gimme Records, hang out in his yard. I'm going to bake some stuff. I'm going to get back into the baking. Well, it's one specific thing, and it's a homage at this point. I make some hippie bread from Angelica Kitchen in New York City, which is no longer with us. Angelica Kitchen has passed. It's moved on. It's no longer. And this brick of brown rice, oats, cornmeal, apple cider is a very specific type of bread. I wouldn't call it a bread. There's no real leavening or rising or even baking powder involved. It is just a brick that slices up. And I make it with, there's a miso tahini spread that goes with it. I found a recipe for it. I honor the recipe of the late, great Angelica Kitchen in New York, and there is a lot of transplants at this shindig I go to who might know the original hippie cornbread, the hippie rice brick, the brick of supposed health that is Angelica cornbread. So I'm going to be making that. I don't know what you're making. Cooking up some meats. You know, we're celebrating the independence of America, and that has different meaning, I would imagine, for the people of this country tomorrow. Two very different ideas of where America is going and what's happening and what independence means and what democracy means. Some people are going to be celebrating and excited about exactly how things are going. Other people are going to be sort of scared and thoughtful. Either way, whether you're eating in celebration, eating those ribs, eating those steaks, those burgers, those dogs, those brats, whatever you're eating, that slab of salmon on a piece of cedar, some people are going to be eating out of celebration. Others are going to be eating out of terror and fear and just, make it go away for a second. Those are the two approaches to grilling this year. That you can grill for the glory of America in its current state, or you can grill for the complete existential panic that you're experiencing and eat that shit away. Either way, enjoy it. Don't blow your fingers off, of course. That's always good. Watch your kids with the fire and the bombs and watch them with that. Watch them with the lighters. Ask them where they got whatever they got and try to assess what it's going to do before someone loses an arm. It's not worth the fight. Today. And for Christ's sake, be careful with your guns, will you? In my neighborhood, occasionally there's a habit to shoot guns into the air. And, that bullet's going to come down eventually. As it did on my back windshield years back. That was on New Year's Eve. So, yeah, go easy with the gunplay if you could, either, the violent kind or just the celebratory kind where you just blow a couple rounds into the air, because those bullets, they do come down. They don't enter orbit. And for God and country's sakes, don't play with the firearms too much unless you're doing it safely. All right? And don't shoot anybody, for fuck's sake. Would you not do that on the 4th of July? Could we not do that? Oh, my God. Here's something you can do that's a nice gesture, a nice human gesture. We're sponsored today by Men's Wearhouse, and this year marks the 10th anniversary of the Men's Wearhouse National Suit Drive. Donate your gently used professional attire at any Men's Wearhouse store from July 1st through the 31st and give a man a chance to transform his life. I got to do that. I got to find the nearest Men's Wearhouse. I was about to unload a bunch of suits at some hipster attire joint, maybe get some trade, but I don't need that. I don't need more clothes. I got to get rid of these clothes. So I'm going to do this Men's Wearhouse thing. But look, if you don't have a suit, you don't have to worry, all right? You don't have to give them a suit. They're collecting all kinds of professional items, including sports coats, slacks, dress shirts, sportswear, outerwear, dress shoes, ties, and other accessories as well. Then all the donated items will be given directly to nonprofit organizations that distribute them throughout the community. The goal is to receive 275,000 donations. So be sure to spread the word by using the hashtag GiveASuit. Visit menswearhouse.com. That's WEAR warehouse.com/national-suit-drive for more information. Those who donate will receive a thank you coupon for 50% off regular price retail items, or text NSD to 66960 to receive $10 off your purchase of $50 or more. Again, menswearhouse.com/national-suit-drive. Remember that dashes. The Men's Wearhouse National Suit Drive. Give a suit. Change a life. Today on the show, it's a doubleheader. We have Chavo Guerrero, a wrestler. He was the trainer on for the women on the show Glow, which is what I'm on. And, but he's a legacy. He comes from a wrestling dynasty. He's like a third generation wrestler. And by doing the show, he was actually following in the footsteps of his uncle Mondo Guerrero, who trained the women on the original Glow show in the 80s. And Kia Stevens is also on the show. Kia wrestles under the name Awesome Kong and Karma. She's a professional wrestler who actually had other aspirations, as you'll find in my conversation with her. It was great. She was the one actual professional wrestler in the cast of the Women of Glow. And one of the things that's great about talking to the people involved in the show, outside of sharing with you what the business of show business is about from the ground up, from production, from acting, from, in this show, training, and also I'm going to talk to the writers and the creators. What we find, is all the things that are involved in creating entertainment product. But also it's an interesting time in the culture. And, for someone who didn't grow up with wrestling, it's hard not to compare a lot of the tactics in the media that are going on now to wrestling tactics. Our president is one of the greatest heels that's ever existed, really. Unfortunately, he's in the most powerful position on the world, and a lot of times the heel's an entertaining guy, and he's got an entertaining attitude. And some people watch wrestling, they love the heels, they love the faces, they want the heels to get their comeuppance, but they want the heel to come back and fight some more and be the asshole that they are. And I don't know. I think that in this particular wrestling match, a majority of the citizens of the United States of America will have to be the face. See how that pans out on all levels. But, the sort of Manichaean universe of wrestling, the sort of the good and evil, the simplicity of it, the spectacle of it, the execution of it, those emotions that are grounded in the story, but also in the dichotomy, the heel, the face, that's it. You got your people that go both ways kind of deal. But it is honest, and I've been enjoying talking to people involved in wrestling. And I guess it's never too late to become a fan of wrestling once you get it. So this is me talking to the legendary Chavo Guerrero. Chavo Guerrero Jr.
That's it, man.
Sorry about your dad, man.
Oh, thanks, man. That's okay. It's good. It's a good thing, man. We for you all you that listen that don't know, my dad passed away about about 5 weeks ago, 6 weeks ago, 2 months ago, something like that. It was good, man. I got me and my dad were pretty close.
Yeah.
But I could have gotten a call in the middle of the night, him saying, them saying, your dad passed away last night.
Was he ill?
He wasn't. He went in for a gallbladder thing.
Yeah.
And they found liver cancer.
Oh.
So.
And it was already that far along.
Yeah, it's stage 4. And he's like, what are you talking about? He goes, you've given me like, I don't know how many scans and nothing. And all of a sudden, liver cancer, stage 4, unoperable. So I had 5 straight weeks with him, really. And I was with him a lot. So it was good.
And a lot of people are upset. He was a hero to many.
Yeah, man, for sure. For sure, man. For sure.
It's the wrestling patriarch.
Yeah, he kind of was, man. This guy he grew up, my grandfather was a wrestler also.
It's so crazy. How far back, how many generations? 3? You're the third?
It's 3 generations, but it goes both sides of the family. So my grandmother met my grandfather because she went to see her brother, who was a famous wrestler.
In Mexico.
What
is that tradition of Mexican wrestling? Did that predate the American obsession? How do they...
Yeah, for sure. In America, it was still kind of very carnival-y-esque. I can't say that. You had like guys like Gorgeous George and those guys.
Yeah. But our president modeled his career after.
Yeah. Yeah, we can get into that, right?
Jeez.
Yeah. But in Mexico, these guys became more superhero-esque. They started doing movies and that kind of stuff. So there was a famous wrestler named El Santo, who was my dad's godfather, actually, and my grandfather's partner at the time.
Were these guys, were they doing the masks?
So nobody did the masks in Mexico, and this one guy, El Santo, did the mask, and the studios, the Mexican studios, saw the potential in it, and they started casting him as a superhero in all of these movies. So he became so popular that everybody started adopting that mask. So
that's where the mask started?
Where the mask came from, yeah. So then our family doesn't do the mask because my grandfather never did, so we bucked against it, said we're too pretty, we don't need to do it, But
so there was a generation of Mexican wrestlers that some were masked and some weren't.
Yes, and now most of them start off with a mask and then they end up losing it. I don't know.
But did that play into the heel and face thing? The masked guys, were they always bad? Were they good?
No, some guys good, some guys bad. It didn't really matter.
And everybody, was it like a clown face? Did everyone have their own unique mask?
Yeah, you have to have your own unique mask. Everybody has their own. That's only their unique style.
But now lucha as a brand is the Mexican wrestling.
It's called lucha libre.
Yeah.
That is what's Mexican wrestling called. That's called like free wrestle almost.
Right. Free wrestle.
Free wrestle. But anytime you say now lucha, that's Mexican style of wrestling. Although they are good mat wrestlers, they do a lot of like acrobatics, and it's very flippy, and I'll do the ropes and all the different stuff.
But that's like seen sort of a resurgence in the last decade here in the States.
Yeah, so everything's kind of like MMA is now, to where you kind of have to be a hype. Before, when MMA started, you were either a puncher or you were a jiu-jitsu guy or you were a karate guy.
Right.
Well, now you're a hybrid of everything,
Yeah.
And that's what wrestling is now. Like American wrestling is definitely any like high flying moves you see, that's lucha stuff.
Yeah.
Any real strong style hitting stuff, that's Japan style.
Really?
Yeah. Any like real technical mat wrestling, that's kind of like European style. And then throw it in with the American entertainment version of it. That's where you kind of get what is now.
But this hybrid. All these disciplines you're talking about are professional wrestling. So it is a acrobatic, theatrical, scripted match.
Yes, for sure. It's our main objective is entertainment. Putting on a great show, a great match.
And all these other areas when you talk about Japan and Europe, they have been evolving styles for the last however many years.
Yeah.
But wrestling was in France. It all seemed to happen around the same time, right?
Yeah, in the early 20s.
Yeah.
That's when it all started, and it was really kind of at first like a carnival type thing, carny, and then it just got bigger and bigger, and then you got people. That's kind of like how boxing started. Boxing kind of started with just guys would just bare knuckle fight, and crowd would get around them, and then eventually you got to the rules and the big stadiums and that kind of stuff.
But still, you're just dealing with, in terms of how the outcome of boxing match is going to go. It's just the odds of the fight record of the guy. Like
Right.
you didn't know they're
Sure.
actually beating the shit out of each other, as wrestlers are too.
Sure. We have the luxury of it being able to put on the great show. I mean, MMA and boxing, although I love all of that stuff.
Yeah.
Sometimes you go pay for a boxing match or an MMA match and it's
over in a minute.
It's over in a second, or it's boring as heck and you're like, blah, this is horrible.
Yeah, right.
I don't know how many times I've yelled at my TV and yelled at Dana White from the head of the UFC and saying, you owe me $59.95, jerk.
Yeah. With wrestling, it's going to go on for a while.
Yes, yeah, it's going to be pretty good.
So where did you grow up primarily?
I grew up here in Orange County.
And
I'm from El Paso, Texas. That's where our family's, Mexico City, but then El Paso, Texas. But we grew up here in Orange County in like Huntington Beach, Fountain Valley.
And your dad grew up in El Paso?
He grew up kind of everywhere. He was on the road when my grandfather was a wrestler. He wrestled everywhere. So my dad grew up almost like an army brat, just kind of all over the place.
And
they settled in El Paso, and that's where he went to high school at.
Yeah.
And then came out here at the Olympic Auditorium in Los Angeles. And
so when your dad was like at the time that your father was huge in wrestling,
right,
it was still sort of a special world. It wasn't like mainstream entertainment.
It wasn't yet. It was starting to get there. Like, it'd be very localized. Now, like we say the WWE's territory is the world now. But you'd had different territories. Like, my dad was part of the Los Angeles territory, which was called NWA Hollywood Wrestling. And like people like Freddie Blassie came out of there, and Roddy Piper and my father and others, of course.
And where were they wrestling?
At the Olympic Auditorium. The old Olympic Auditorium is now a Korean church, but it was built in 1930 for the 1932 Olympics.
Right.
And if you look at the size of it comparative to the big, Staples Centers and stuff now, it's relatively pretty small, but that's where they had huge, massive bouts, and the Olympics and stuff were there. So that's where that was the home of it.
Did they shoot a local show there? Like where I grew up in Albuquerque, they had it at the Civic Auditorium. Right. So, and then there was a dude that used to host it on Sundays, a little dude with a white beard and white hair, and he'd be the guy interviewing people.
Exact same thing here. And every basically territory. So you had, here in California, you had the San Francisco territory and you had the Los Angeles territory. But in, Texas would have, 4 or 5 different territories, the Dallas, El Paso, San Antonio, Houston territories. They all do the same thing.
And they'd have weekly matches.
They all had weekly matches. They had actually probably, these guys wrestled, they wrestled 300 days a year. Well, 365 days a year.
On the year. So on the road.
Yeah. No, they wrestled every single day. There would be a territory. So like my dad would do Los Angeles TV on, whatever it was on Monday. I'm getting these days wrong. Yeah. But on Monday, Tuesday would be Ventura. Wednesday would be, let's say Fresno. Thursday would be San Diego. Friday would be San Bernardino.
And they just have matches, so you never knew how many people were going to come. It wasn't
You never knew. So you had one TV show that propelled all your live events.
Huh.
Typically, wrestling is a live event business. They use their TV show to promote their live events, basically. That's kind of how it's still kind of done.
Yeah, and these guys got, having, worked with you a little bit on Glow, and also, not growing up being a wrestling guy.
Sure.
Like John Darnielle in The Mountain Goats wrote that beautiful song about your dad, right?
Right.
And because, he was a kid who had trouble at home, and, wrestling kind of elevated things. And who was I talking to? I was talking to AJ Lee. She was one of these kids that would watch wrestling, and, she also grew up in a painful childhood,
right.
and in her mind it was like, I can be a superhero.
It was kind of like that's kind of like what we are. I mean, how they portray us as superheroes, and the new show that I'm doing, Lucha Underground, really comic book superhero is totally the way we go.
And you write comics.
And well, I didn't write that one. That one's written about me.
The one you gave me, yeah.
It's called The Warrior's Creed on Lion Forge Comics. But Fabian Nasenza, who created Deadpool, that moved the comic and the movie.
I like that movie.
He wrote that book too.
He did?
Yeah.
I sort of like that movie. I was never a comic book guy much, or a wrestling guy. It was always rock and roll and shit to me. But
I love that too.
Yeah, there's a crossover now, and I just knew that there was a world out there. I'm like, what the fuck is that? But I never went into it.
Right.
But just everyone's covered in blood all the time. Were they?
Yeah, they always said that blood, red equaled green. A lot of times they're always bleeding.
Did they use fake blood?
No, never fake. Always real blood.
Yeah.
Always real blood. Either there's two ways to do it. There's either the hard way, which means, straight shot and bust you open, or they'd sometimes, do a little, we call it the cut job.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they'd cut themselves sometimes at certain points. That's hard to do because you gotta do it and people are watching. It's not like it's like a cut and then you do it. It's, you're doing it in front of people. And if they see you, I always say wrestling is like magic. You see, Chris Angel.
Yeah.
We all know it's not real. It's an illusion.
Yeah.
But when he floats, he starts floating, you're like, oh my God, how's he doing that? What? How's he doing that?
Yeah.
But as soon as you see the string, you're like, oh, okay, you change the channel.
Yeah, yeah.
And wrestling's the same way. They know it's not real. It's entertainment, but if we can get them to go, God, I know it's not real, but these guys are really beating the crap out of each other. God, is that real? But as soon as you see the string, which is, a fake punch or, the typical wrestling fall or whatever it is, then you change the channel. That's something we never want them to
Right, but I think also people appreciate the choreography of it.
Absolutely.
Like if you do a good job with one of those moves, even though it's a move, they're like, oh, that was a good one.
Yeah, sure. Absolutely, sure.
Yeah.
I'm seeing all your guitars around here.
Yeah.
I'm aspiring.
Are you?
I'm new to it, yeah.
I'm not great at it, but I seem to acquire guitars.
That's awesome.
And I like to play. But okay, so when your old man was doing it, it was a hard life. But then also the fact is that whether people know it's staged or it isn't staged doesn't matter. There's a narrative and there are characters and there are people there every week that they know they know who the rivalries are with, and some people.
It's like a soap opera for men is what we call it.
Yeah. But also there is physical risk, and there is
Absolutely.
these guys are beating the shit out of themselves
for sure. That's a lot of stuntmen are really big fans of ours, like Jackie Chan and Jean-Claude Van Damme and Chuck Norris, because they would see what we do, 300 days a year with 30 or 40 different opponents, never really rehearsing, just going out there and doing it. And they were kind of like in awe, like, how the heck do you guys do this every day on the road, and just you're doing a different match every single night, and they'd go on set and rehearse it for 2 weeks. They're like, I don't understand.
You guys are in it making the bread. You got to make the money. You got to put on the show.
Basically, yep.
So now, at what level? What was the wrestling world? How did like in your father's time that he was a big star? What did that mean at that time? I mean, how big was the?
Pretty big. I knew we were growing up in a special family. The Guerrero family. It's kind of weird because you grow up being, taken care of and signing autographs and that kind of stuff. Or not that I was, but being around that, even being a celebrity type thing, my family was. So it's kind of normal to you.
Yeah.
As I'm older now, you see it and you kind of really appreciate it. But like my kids would, they'd be playing video games and playing me, and they'd be talking to their friend, they're like 5 years old, say, hey, which one is your dad? Yeah. And they just kind of thought everybody's dad was on video games. And their friends are like, what are you talking about? My dad's not on a video game.
But could he make a good living, your old man?
Yeah, you know what? They'd made good livings.
Yeah.
It wasn't like it is now. You make much better now. Now it's much bigger, and wrestlers make a lot more money. Back then, they made good money, but it's, you get hurt, then you didn't get paid. There was, no union. There's none of that stuff. So.
Right. And slimy promoters.
Very slimy. You on our show.
I think next season, if we do one, I'm going to evolve into more of a, because the funny thing about that character was that they told me that, like, your guy doesn't know nothing about wrestling. And I'm like, perfect.
Right, exactly.
So now we're going to learn about it, and I wonder how they're going to go with that. I wonder how, because I have the disposition, but now I got to be educated, because at the beginning of the series, my dream was to do a movie, and I had a misunderstanding of what was important about wrestling. So I hope as the seasons go on, if they do, that I become more entrenched in the wrestling. That would seem to make sense to me. That since
sure, I would think that's the way they'd go, because you'd realize, wow, we could actually make some money on this thing, right?
I guess when you were a kid, it was just a natural thing that you were going to be a wrestler. Yeah,
we grew up with a wrestling ring in the backyard. Literally.
You did?
I had a wrestling ring in the backyard, and we just...
It was a family business.
It's what it was. I mean, my grandmother took she would help promote it and took the tickets, and we would sell programs, and other people would be at concession stands.
It's a real road show.
Exactly. It was like you're a rock and roll fan. It was like being like a rock star. All different venues, all the different times, always on the road.
And it's a family affair.
Absolutely.
The merch, the ticket sales, everything. The Guerrero family, they're coming to town.
Yeah, basically,
So when did you start doing it professional?
my first actual match was when I was 23. So that was in 1993.
But you've been wrestling in that ring in the backyard since you were a kid.
Yes, for sure.
And your uncle was
Eddie Guerrero. He was a wrestler too, you know. So and he was only 3 years older than me. He was one of my uncles. I had other uncles that were wrestlers also.
Oh yeah.
But he was the closest in age to me. And,
right.
Yeah, we grew up as brothers basically. So we used to wrestle in the backyard. We would camp out under the ring. You know, like that was our tent.
Yeah.
We would take off the top rope so that the second rope was our top rope because we were small. You know.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that's just how it was. We just lived in the ring.
And and so you were 23, and what was the wrestling scene like then? Because it was already changing.
You're thinking the Hulk Hogan years was probably in 83, 84.
Yeah.
That's probably when it really got really big.
Right.
So by 93, yeah, it was massive.
And
WrestleMania's already happened and all that kind of stuff.
And you were gunning for that?
You think? I don't know. I was so naive when I got into it. I kind of was just like, yeah, okay, I'm going to be a wrestler.
How were you naive? You were like, well, you knew you wanted to be a wrestler.
I wanted to be a wrestler.
But the business.
Yeah, you know, look, I'm basically, look, I'm a small brown guy in this big white guy's world. You know? These guys were massive. They were, 6'8" and 6'5", 300 pounds. So really, I mean, I grew up, I was, 5'9" on a good day.
Yeah.
I was weighing at 150 pounds, and I always told my friends, hey, I'm going to be a wrestler, and they'd be like, yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Even my family was like, you're just too small.
How big was Eddie?
My size.
Uh-huh.
My size.
So you guys were both...
We were all about the same size, our whole family. We just kind of made it. I don't know how.
But you were coming up at the same time, right?
Yeah.
You and Eddie.
Yeah, he's 3 years older than me, but about 5 years older than me or 6 years older than me in the wrestling world. And
did you guys get involved with Vince in that crew?
Not until we got established for a while first. We first started when this other Ted Turner owned a wrestling organization also called WCW, World Championship Wrestling. That's how we got introduced basically.
Yeah.
We had wrestled in Mexico and did some other things, but then to the big huge organization was WCW, and that got purchased by Vince McMahon from the WWF at the time, and then he acquired my contract. My Uncle Eddie had already made the jump to them before.
Yeah. And was he big on that circuit?
Eddie?
Yeah.
Absolutely. One of the biggest. One of the biggest. Yeah.
And did you see, when you got in, what was your relationship with Eddie? Did you guys wrestle together?
Yeah, we were pretty, I mean, I consider myself, and from what people told me, that at the time we were probably the best tag team in the world.
Yeah.
I think so. I mean, there was other great tag teams out there, but as far as everything, as far as being able to do promos, to entertain and wrestle and fight and fly and do everything, be good guys, be bad guys, I think we were the best at the time. I mean,
what year was that?
We started in 2003.
Yeah.
We had about a year run, and then they broke us up to become singles wrestlers again.
But at least you knew each other. They had a family language.
Yeah, well,
right?
we'd been doing that our whole lives. So when they first put us together, they're like, holy shit, you guys are so good. I'm like, well, yeah, we've been doing this our whole lives. We never really had to talk in the ring. We just knew what each other was doing in the ring. Right. Like, it was really like a sixth sense that I would, where he left off, I would start up.
Right.
I'd pick up and vice versa.
Yeah, just unspoken communication.
Yeah. It's I mean, it's definitely different than, being on stage as far as like stand up and stuff like that. But it's the same. It's this sixth sense that you feel, you become one with your partner and your opponents and the referee and the crowd. You feel what's going to make them pop. You know what I mean? It's like, we go up there, like, I consider the fans as, I compare them to children, to babies. Because a baby, if you have kids, you don't, they're crying. You don't know why they're crying. Is he dirty? Is he burped? Does he sleepy? Is he hungry?
Yeah.
You have to figure out what's going to make him stop crying.
Yeah.
Well, fans are the same way. You get out there, they want to be entertained, but they just don't know what they want. Do they want fighting?
Yeah.
Do they want wrestling? Do they want brawling? Do they want to laugh?
Yeah.
Do they want entertainment? You don't know. They don't know. You have to feel what they want and
honor it, and you improvise like that.
Absolutely.
Yeah?
Absolutely. Yeah, for sure.
And you know when you need to get a laugh, and you know when you need to do a flip or whatever.
Yeah, for sure. There's times when I'm facing off with somebody and I can tell, this is going to be easy. They're going to come on anything.
Yeah.
And there's times when okay, let's try lockup. Boom, that didn't work.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Let's try wrestling. Ooh, that's not going to get him. Okay, so then you got to start feeling them out. And
both of you in the match feel that.
Yeah.
Do you talk about it?
Out there, pretty much now I'm kind of the leader when I get in the ring, for the most part. So you just listen to me. And if we don't get them going, and we don't entertain, then it's the heat's on me.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
So how much do you do it now?
I still do it. I have another show called Lucha Underground that's on Netflix now also, the first 1 and 2 seasons. That's really doing well. So I'm talent on the show, but I produce that show also. So I used to wrestle 300 days a year. Now I wrestle about 25, 30 days a year.
Why? Because of age, or just because of you got tired of it?
It's a combination of everything. I don't have to anymore. Before you wrestle because for money, Now I got a bunch of other things that I'm doing, so I don't have to wrestle all the time. Right now I'm in between shows, so I'm picking up other wrestling shows and wrestling signings.
But usually as a guy who is a consultant, hands-on, a trainer and occasionally talent, is that how it works?
Yeah, for sure.
But what was any of your decision to kind of ease up outside of financial? Was it obviously took a mortal toll on your uncle?
Yeah,
what happened to that? What was that generation like? How did he pass away?
So for sure, that was a definite reason why I stepped back. You know that you can't do this forever. We say you can borrow it for a small time and then you got to give it back. Mm-hmm. So when Eddie grew up, Eddie was growing up in that last. My father grew up in the Wild West of wrestling. Yeah, the Wild West. It was the 70s, 80s. That's the same as Hollywood. Cocaine, steroids. Nobody knew all that stuff was bad for you. Right. And if they did, they didn't listen. Right. They just was,
they couldn't tell by their behavior.
Yeah, exactly. You're on the road and it just changed, So Eddie grew up on the back end of that, but he really grew up when prescription pills got bigger. I always asked my dad, like, hey man, how come you never got, involved with prescription pills?
What, painkillers?
Yeah, painkillers. And he's like, what do I want that for? That was legal. I wanted the illegal shit. That's what my dad always said. So Eddie, was trying not to do the illegal stuff and was doing, well, they're prescribed by doctors, should be fine. So, having a lot of pain that we have, you're trying to mask it, trying to keep going. Yeah. And it's very easy to start saying, well, God, I got a little injury. I need a pill.
I got a breakfast injury.
Exactly.
Yeah, my fingers a little.
Yeah. Hey, I might as well throw down a 12-pack with that too, right?
Yeah, right.
So that is what really got Eddie. Now, he'd been clean for about 3 or 4 years when he passed, but just all the damage that he had already done, scar tissue on his heart and that kind of stuff, and just pounding and being on the road. And, we always say that, like, you're wrestling, you're kind of like a piece of meat. So like if you put 2 steaks on the counter and you beat the crap out of one and you leave one normal, the one that you beat up is gonna spoil faster than the other one. Kind of like how wrestling bodies are.
So when he passed away, it wasn't shocking.
It was shocking. I mean, for sure. I mean, I was with him and I was the one who found him. Yeah.
Oh, really?
Basically died in my arms.
Really?
Yeah.
We're out on the road?
We were on the road. We were on the road together, yeah. We were in Minneapolis. We were getting ready to wrestle in Minneapolis, a super show for WWE, and then we were going overseas for a tour. And, we just happened to be on the same flights. He lived in Phoenix. I was flying in from Orange County Airport. Yeah. And I connected in Phoenix, and we're like, hey, we're on the same flight. So we roomed together. We ended up getting to a hotel at the same place, and then we went to our own hotel rooms, and he called me, goes, hey man, can I talk to you, man? And I was like, yeah, sure. What's going on? He's like, I just need to talk to you. And I was like, all right, hold on a second. I go, let me get some stuff done. I got to go downstairs and work something out in the room, and then I'll come up. So I got done with getting my stuff done, and I gave him a call, and I go, hey man, what room are you in? And he goes, nah, man, that's okay. And I said, no, man, I'm coming up. And he goes, no, I'm cool. I'm okay. All right. 7 o'clock in the morning, I get a call from the hotel manager, and he's saying, hey, your uncle didn't answer his wake-up call, so we went and knocked on his door. I'm going to call him, like, oh, what do you mean didn't answer his wake-up call? And they're like, we found him, he's in the bathroom. I said, in the bathroom? What's going on? My first thought was he had a relapse. Yeah. That's my first, because you find people, drugged out, sleeping on the floor and that kind of stuff, and it happened quite a bit in wrestling back in the day, Yeah. So I'm thinking, oh man, he had a relapse. So we went to his room, and I guess they tried to knock on his door, tried to open his door, that the latch was on it, so they cut the latch off. I came in and he was face down in his in the bathroom.
Yeah.
So we picked him up, like, wow, this isn't right. Started CPR, the whole deal, and he died right there. Right
oh my God.
Yeah, man, it was crazy.
What was it?
They said heart failure. 38 years old. Heart failure.
Oh my God.
Yeah, right. 38 years old, and it's weird because you got people that just abuse their bodies until they're 60 years old.
Yeah.
And are fine.
Yeah.
30,
relatively fine.
Yeah. But
they live.
Yeah, for
That's
sure.
sad, man.
Yeah, 38 years old, man. It was crazy.
Yeah, and it was a big shock to the wrestling world.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It was
terrible
for sure.
But I'm glad you were there.
Yeah. No, and it was like just same thing with my dad. It was a gift.
Yeah.
I got to spend his last moments with him.
Yeah.
And he didn't end up dying in his wife's arm or his kid's arm.
Yeah.
I had to find him.
Yeah.
It was mine.
Yeah.
So it was a gift. I look at it either way.
But in that moment, was that like sort of like, I don't know if I can.
No, man, you just keep going. It's just like Vince McMahon. We had a huge meeting, and Vince came to the hotel room and the whole deal before we released it to the press and everything. He's like, "What do we do? We're supposed to have the Super Show. Do we cancel the show?" And I said, "Absolutely not." I go, "Eddie the show must go on. You don't, absolutely not. He'd be insulted and hurt that you would cancel the show, and all of these people who paid their money to see us perform were turned away." Our grandfather always told us that, you got these fans that they may not have a lot of money and they're choosing to spend it on you. You better give them their money's worth.
Put on the show.
Put that show on. So the show must go on. And
did you announce it at the show?
Yeah, Vince was pretty good to make it a tribute show. We announced it right there.
Well, it's the day of, for fuck's sake.
Yeah, it's right there, live TV.
The day that he passed, you're on TV.
5 hours, 6 hours before we actually went live.
Well, how was that crowd?
It was a sold out crowd, and the place, it went.
That mixture of grief and shock.
Yeah, for sure. There's a wrestler right now, and I believe it's I think it's Sasha Banks. I believe she was at that show as a kid, holding up an Eddie Guerrero sign. I loved Eddie before. Like he's my favorite wrestler, and then finds out he's dead that day with her sign. Like, what the heck? So that's pretty touching, pretty heavy story. Yeah, and she's a wrestler in WWE now.
It's interesting those wrestling kids become wrestlers.
Yeah, that's tough, man. It's tough. I don't know how they do it. I grew up in the business, and just to be an outsider and step in, it's so hard in politics and just learning how to be a wrestler.
Well, it's funny though that there is a way to become like when I talk to AJ, you go learn how to wrestle. You get into a local scene, you get the gym, and you start plugging away. It's sort of like open mic level, and you hope you make a break.
Yeah, it's the same thing. It's Hollywood. You're trying to break in, and when you go take acting classes, and you can try to get a commercial here and there. You just keep learning your craft, and you go waitress on the side, right?
Right.
It's the same thing. You wrestle, and you go bounce it, or bouncers or somewhere, or they work in a gym, and they try to make it
right. And they do the small matches.
That's it.
And hope to someone goes like, holy shit, where'd that guy come from?
Exactly.
So, but now, when you have to do something like be the trainer on Glow.
Right.
I'm coming into this world, and I've talked to wrestlers as a guy that doesn't know much about wrestling. And, I've talked to Punk, and I've talked to Colt Cabana, and I've talked to AJ, I've talked to Foley. My producer was a big wrestling kid.
Sure, okay.
So he keeps me in, but, we did a shtick with Foley back in the day on radio where we basically did a wrestling script on the radio.
Awesome, he's great.
Where he kicked someone's ass, and people, who were listening, were like, what happened to that day? It was a political show, so, Mick is this, liberal guy, and we had this conservative guy come in who said he wanted to, take him on, and we staged this fight on the mics, and then we played it so it sounded like Mick was beating the shit out of this conservative guy. He was like, "Ow, hey," and we ended it abruptly,
right?
And then we come back,
Andy Kaufman style,
right?
Yeah, right.
And we come back, we're like, well, that kind of got out of hand, so let's just go on with the show. We got all this mail from liberal people like, that wasn't right that you heard that, I disagree with him, but I don't know what happened there.
Right. It's the whole wrestling thing. If people ask, is wrestling real or is wrestling fake? If you say it's real, then they'll argue with you no matter what you say.
Right.
No, it's not. It's not real. It's fake. They do some fake punching. If you say it's fake, they say, well, it's not totally fake. I mean, they're falling, right? So no matter what you say, they're going to argue with you.
Well, but the weird thing is that the emotions are real.
Oh, yeah.
That if you lock in, it doesn't matter. No one's saying it's a sport.
Right.
It's wrestling.
Right.
But, the idea is your suspension of disbelief and to get involved with these characters.
Sure. I mean, I compare it to a movie all the time. There's movies out there. We know it's entertainment. It's not real, but I leave that theater sometimes and I'm like, God, my heart
fucked up.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
But then there's some movies you walk out like, I couldn't care less, right?
Right.
It's the same thing. There's some wrestlers that are so good at pulling your heartstrings, and there's some that, they're just okay.
Yeah, right.
So the ones that can pull hearts, those are the ones. Yeah.
So how does the job on Glow? How did that come about?
That's kind of funny.
Because you must have known the real Glow girls.
Yes, my uncle Mono was actually the original trainer of the original Glow girls.
And the one thing that's true about the show, even though it is almost all fiction, but based on the original Glow idea,
right,
was that it really was conceived as a television show, right?
Absolutely.
To sort of make some money off of the wrestling craze.
Right. No, nobody had ever... women were in wrestling, but, very like a special attraction, basically. There was never a women's league.
Like a second stage thing? Like now we're going to have the ladies come out?
And then a midget would come out, or a small person. We call them midgets on on wrestling because that's just the way it is.
Yeah.
But, or a guy would wrestle a bear, a special attraction. So the women would come out as special attractions. For the most part. Then this guy put together the Glow, this women's league, and it was just all women. And
from all different, like the show is sort of like honest in that they came from a lot of different types of lives.
Yeah, they were dancers and actresses, models, and they, same on our show. So basically, I had heard that that Genji Cohen, the executive producer, was creating this show. And so I was like, oh man, I just gotta get in the room with her.
Yeah.
So I made a couple calls, and she was at, I think she was at William & Morris. So I pulled some strings, and nothing happened.
Yeah.
Nothing happened. And so no connection. I was like, okay, whatever. So then I ended up going on vacation with my family to Lake Powell, and we got the boat out. We're hanging out, and I get a call from this girl named Shauna Duggins, who happens to be the stunt coordinator on the show called Glow.
Right.
And she's like, I was referred to you by this other lady wrestler that I talked to named Eve Torres, and I worked with her on Supergirl, and and I'm like, you got to be kidding me.
Yeah.
Get the hell out of here. I was trying to get in touch with everybody, and they ended up contacting me.
Right.
So Shauna, being awesome as she is, she was a stunt coordinator, but realized that she didn't know wrestling, that she needed somebody who actually was going to do the wrestling part.
Yeah.
They asked me to come in. They interviewed me. I had an interview at Genji's
compound, her office down in Koreatown.
Yeah, exactly.
With Carly and Liz, the creators.
Carly, Liz. I mean, there was 15, 20 people in the room.
Yeah.
So we were in there, and then I was one of the last ones they interviewed, and it helped that one of the writers named Christopher Diaz wrote plays, and he actually wrote a play called the Legend of Chad Deity or something like that. Yeah. And it was based on me, kind of.
Yeah.
It was based on this wrestler that was really good. He was so good at making other people look good that he was so good that nobody could make him look good. So he's stuck in this role of making everybody look good all the time.
Yeah.
So he kind of wrote it about me.
Yeah.
So we went and saw this play. So he was a writer there. So I'm having this interview with Liz and Carly and stuff, and I see this guy sitting there, and they're like, oh, somebody wants to say hi. And he's like, hey, man, I wrote that play. I was like, oh, yeah, we met, right? And he's like, yeah. So he's like, man, you were great. And he really put me over.
Yeah.
So, and I was like, oh, that helped. I mean, I accepted him $20 afterwards, but.
Yeah. Who else are they going to get, though, on some level? I mean, who the hell were those other people?
I don't know,
You're
man.
the guy.
I guess, man. I don't know. I'm trying to be.
So they hired you.
They hired me, yeah. And
then you're like, here's 14 girls that don't know anything about wrestling except for Kia.
Basically, it was, there's 14 girls that don't know anything about wrestling. And then there's these writers and producers that don't know anything about wrestling. There's these set designers that don't know anything about wrestling. There's all this stuff. And I'm like, oh shit. So my job broadened very fast.
Yeah,
I was having meetings with the writers, and actually they were running scripts by me and terminology by me. I was ordering the rings.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, we can't use that ring. Well, why not? That's a boxing ring. It's totally different. Oh, we didn't know. Set design. Where should we put the ring? Wardrobe. It was crazy.
So what's your credit now? Producer?
Not yet. Hopefully next season. We'll see.
Sounds like it should be.
We'll see. Yeah. I gave him one for free. So we'll
good.
see. Yes. You know what? I didn't even know either. I just came in and really came in to train these girls and put some choreographing together, and then Shauna took me under her wing, and then I was able to see what a stunt coordinator does.
Yeah.
I was, behind the camera.
But you also had to make it legit.
Yeah, for sure. And had to make sure these girls didn't get hurt. And
right. But the ring, I remember when the ring broke that day.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Yeah, we ran to that and one of the rings posts broke. So what happened is that when we ordered 2 rings, the actual hero ring, we call it the set ring.
Yeah.
They wanted it lower for camera wise. So instead of making new posts and making a new ring, they actually cut the posts
down. They welded
them down. Well, I guess they did it twice. They said, it's still not low enough. Do it again. So when they welded it, they didn't weld it correctly, and
the joint broke.
Yeah, they hit
what was that guy's name?
John Morrison. Johnny Mundo, his name's too, in Lucha Underground. But he's one of my good friends, and he came in as one of the trainers on the show.
Right, I did my scene with him, yeah.
Yeah, and he ended up, he's a pretty big guy, and he hit those ropes hard, and it busted.
Oh, that was scary, that popped, sound. Right? Everybody freaked out.
Everybody freaked out. I think Jackie Tan, one of the actresses, starts crying. She's crying. I'm like, oh, shit. Yeah. But we got it straightened out, and,
Made the new ring.
Yeah.
And what was the cat who worked with you, the hands-on dude?
Oh, Marty Elias.
Yeah.
Marty. Yeah, Marty is my head referee at Lucha Underground, and I've worked with him at WWE and other places.
You two guys were like the pros. You're like the authenticators.
Yeah, for sure. We try to be,
So what was how did you start? Because I missed all that. I came in and they'd already been training for a few weeks.
Right.
So when you have somebody like Kia,
right,
who's a professional wrestler.
Kia wrestled under the name Awesome Kong.
Yeah.
Who was one of the best wrestlers in the world. Big stud of a girl, know. And she comes in, and I'd always known her at this Awesome Kong, this killer.
Yeah.
Then she comes in, and she's so nice. And, hi. And I'm like, who the hell is this, right? So I get all these girls that have never stepped foot in a wrestling ring. A lot of them don't know what wrestling is. A lot of them have never done a sport in their life. Right. Literally, I lined them up and said, have you all done any sports? Like, I'm thinking soccer or basketball. Yeah. They're like, well, I did dance. Another one's like, I was in a Shakespeare play. I'm like, oh my God. But what happened is that every one of these girls became I really tried, and Shauna Duggins and Helena Barrett, our other stunt girl, really, really tried to tap into their inner athlete, their inner strength.
Right.
And every one of these girls stepped up and became so good. And they ended up falling in love with wrestling.
Yeah.
Doing flips and falls and hitting the ropes and all different things. And funny story, about 2 weeks in, I'm training them. We've already been training for 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And I said something like, okay, so just, cover the person and, then that's how you win. And they're like, what? And I go, wait a minute. Don't you know how to win? And they're like, no. And I said, hold on a second. Everybody stop practice. Hold on. Stop. Do you all know the rules of wrestling? I just assumed they did. And they're like, no. And I'm like, why didn't you all tell me? They didn't know how to win. Like, if you can get disqualified or tap somebody out.
Right.
So, okay, I had to stop everybody and explain the wrestling rules. I just didn't, I just
so
assumed.
Hung up on the choreography and the move.
Yeah, I assumed, that basically they knew. And then we got people like Allison Brie, who's one of our leads. And she, didn't really know anything about wrestling, but became really, really good. Actually, was really great. She protects wrestling now. Like she did an interview and somebody was like, well, that wrestling's fake. She's like, no, it's not. It's not all fake. And she said they're protecting. I'm like, all right, girl, good. So these girls actually became like wrestlers and fell in love with wrestling. I get texts from them still all the time saying, hey, we miss meeting in the ring.
Yeah. Well, that's beautiful.
That's cool.
Because I think that if there's another season, there's going to be more wrestling.
You think?
Yeah, because
sure.
the first season is all building up.
Yeah.
To
right.
that first match.
Right.
And a lot of the girls didn't get in.
Right.
You know, there's only like there were really, I think, in the final match,
4 or 5 matches, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's going to be interesting to see, you know, to get them back in shape and then to get going again and doing some more matches.
Some of the Netflix guys asked me, like, you know, where do we go from here? Did you teach them everything? I'm like, oh no.
Yeah.
I taught them this much. I got so much more of my bag of tricks.
Well, I hope in the next season that that the matches become the sort of like at least, you know, half the season that we moving towards these matches, going out of town and stuff, and, you know, dealing with, you know, the real kind, you know, seeing me evolve as a promoter or as a manager, and then, you know, dealing with promoters, and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, maybe get you in the ring.
Right.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, I have to.
Yeah.
But so you feel that, you know, most of them really got, you know, they became sort of bottom level wrestlers.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember I wasn't teaching them to have a match at WrestleMania. I was teaching them to on camera to look like they knew what they were doing in a scene.
Right.
But at the same time, I had to make sure they were safe in the ring. So I really did train them from the ground up. We learned how to roll. We learned how to fall. We probably didn't even hit the ropes for the first 2 weeks. Really, you know, really, we learned the basics, because if it's just like building a house. I always use this terminology. If you build this beautiful house, but you don't build a good foundation, well, that house is going to crumble. I don't care how good the support beams are.
Right.
It's the same thing with the wrestling. If you don't build that base, that foundation, which is protecting yourself and protecting your opponent, then you're going to get hurt.
Well, it's so amazing because, like, you know, when I talk to you now, that if you weren't there, that the legitimacy of the thing might have been hurt, you know, in the sense that, you know, the fact was, because I know Liz and Carly and I know the idea and it seemed like a good world and they are playwrights.
Right.
So, but, you know, just the fact of, you know, the nuts and bolts.
So Liz and Carly,
literally,
our other executive producers, were so awesome in the fact that they actually wanted to be true to the wrestling world, and they didn't want to insult anybody. You know, they wanted to, even though they didn't know totally about wrestling, they didn't want to, you know, turn people off.
Right.
So, you know, I've had different talks with them, and they were really cool and letting me look at the scripts and kind of, you know, give my suggestions on what to change, what terminology to change, which different ways. Like, I'm like, you can't say that because you're gonna turn the wrestling community off because they're so loyal. Oh, okay. So how about we change
anything that
this?
made them look like they didn't know what they were talking about?
Yes, different terminology, but like they'd say, oh, well, you know, and there was in one of the scenes they were talking about wrestling being fake. I'm like, you can't say it like that. You can say it's entertainment or say it's a work or something like this, but if you say that, wrestling fans are going to go like, you know, we know we're not stupid. We know, but we choose to believe. You know, so it's you just don't want to turn anybody off like that.
Fine line. And
so they were really cool in changing terminology and changing wording, changing sentences. So I was really proud. I mean, my name's attached to it too. So I know it's not my project, but if the wrestling,
but you're the wrestling
they're the
guy.
ones who are going to look at me. The wrestling world's going to look at me and say, "Chavo, you suck." Yes, you know, I'm like, I didn't write it. I'm not the boss, but it doesn't matter. They're going to point the finger at somebody. So, you know, hopefully, I'm really proud of it, and I think they're going to be super proud of it too. So, if hopefully they are proud of it and they point the finger at me and they like it.
Yeah. And and I'm glad you got all this other stuff going on.
Yeah, man, it's one of the, you know, in Hollywood you have to diversify a little bit. You know, you can't just be an actor. You can't just be a stunt guy. You can't just be a producer. You kind of got to do everything.
And then also it was this amazing learning process for you to work with Sean, and that stunt stuff was kind of amazing.
Huge learning process.
Because you had to show them a little bit too, right?
Yeah, well.
When they had to do the stand-in stuff and didn't take the hit.
Yeah, for sure. Well, these girls they're stunt girls, so it translates for sure. They knew a lot of what they were doing. They just didn't know they knew. So, I mean, falls and stuff like that.
It was just a form.
Yeah, and they're gymnasts too. So I was able to teach them certain moves and certain things, and they were great. They picked it up.
It's
awesome.
like the whole thing, the whole coming together of the team, and when I'd see all you guys working on it, or see the matches and even the stunts, like I found it very emotional because it's like, you know, it's real shit.
Yeah, and we were pulling for the girls, and we're watching like basically as their coaches, like when they hit the move and hit the scene right, we're like, yeah, we high five each other, and like, yes, that was great, awesome, you know.
Yeah.
And at the same time, I'm watching, you know, on camera, and seeing the scene, see if it translated good in the scene, see if, that, okay, the camera caught that. But at the same time, I'm hoping these girls aren't breaking their necks. Like, oh my God. Okay, they're okay. Okay, they're tough and shit.
You don't want Allison to hurt herself.
Yeah, exactly.
Or Betty or any of them.
Yeah, absolutely. Me too.
And hopefully we can go back and do more. And it was certainly an honor, working with you and talking to you.
No, thanks for having me.
Chavo Guerrero, the real deal, from a family of real deals. Kind of heavy story, but also an amazing story about the process and about, wrestle, what it takes. What's really cool is I did a radio show. I did Jim and Sam's show in New York, and I did it with Allison Brie. And Sam, who's a huge wrestling fan, was doing the interviewing of Allison, and he loves the show. He loves Glow, but he's a huge wrestling fan, so that's a good sign. But one of the indicators, one of the amazing things Chavo was able to do, and it dawned on me when I did when Sam was talking, was that he was watching the moves that the women were doing, and they would launch into a move, and he would watch that move, and if they added on something that had been added on post 1986. If it was a move that didn't exist in the time that the show was set in, he was going to just abandon the whole series. It was that specific. He was like, I watched a move. I thought you were going to go into this other one, and you didn't. And thank God, because I would have had to stop watching the show. That's hardcore wrestling fan right there. And we wouldn't have known that. And if it weren't for Chavo being on top of the credibility of the time period and the credibility of the process of wrestling, we would have lost Sam. And probably a few other wrestling fans, but we did not. Kia Stevens is my next guest, and this is a pretty insane story. It's a great story, and she was great on the show, and she's an amazing professional wrestler as well. But it sort of goes a different place at the end. That there's a roundabout arc to her career and what she was thinking, and I was glad that we made time to do this. This is me talking to Kia Stevens, or as you know her. Through her personas, Awesome Kong, or Karma. But this is I know her as Kia, so I went ahead and talked to Kia. You met Hollywood from The Real Glow.
Yes.
And you knew her from The Real Glow. Like you watched The Real Glow.
I watched her from The Real Glow.
When
and
you were
obsessed about her.
Really? When you were
yeah.
When you were a kid?
Hollywood and Vine.
Yeah.
Because they were so evil.
Yeah. When did you watch it? How old were you when you first saw it?
I was about 8.5, 9.
Where'd you grow up?
In Carson, California.
Where the hell is that?
That's next to Compton and Long Beach.
Oh, okay. And that was the childhood. You were there watching Glow.
Watching Glow.
Yeah.
And asked Santa Claus to make me a Glow Girl.
Did you really?
Yep. I asked Santa Claus. I asked to make me a Glow Girl, and I asked for a Barbies and a rocker van.
Uh-huh.
And I got the van.
And now you're a Glow Girl.
And now I'm a Glow Girl. But it's funny because the show got canceled really soon after that Christmas.
Yeah.
And I was like, there is no Santa Claus. He is not real. Go screw yourself. But the magic is real. I can confirm that the magic is real.
So do you remember wanting to be a wrestler at that age?
Yeah.
8 or 9?
Yeah.
How many kids were in your family?
3.
So it's you and what?
Older sister, younger brother. And my younger brother would torture me because he watched all kinds of wrestling. He's the original wrestling fan in the family.
Okay.
3 years younger, but he was the baby.
Yeah.
So it was like, my mom was like, don't touch my baby. Uh-huh. So he got to torture us, but we could never reciprocate.
Couldn't beat him up.
No. Could not beat up her lone son heir. We couldn't beat up the little prince.
Yeah.
And he would practice moves on me. He would always, every Saturday, he would put me in the camel clutch. Uh-huh. And he would, he's younger, so he'd wear dirty underoos where the Superman was black, but they didn't sell him black, And it was just this is gross. And I had to wait till my mom came in and be like, let the girl go.
Yeah. So it was in your house. Like, this kid, is he still a wrestling fan?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Somewhat, not as much as I am, but yeah. He knows his wrestling history and whatnot.
Well, the weird thing is like, I certainly respect and appreciate wrestling, but having not grown up with it or being a fan of it, when I go to look at like your Wikipedia page or something,
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, who the fuck wrote this? Some fan, like, I don't know who is it.
I haven't read it lately.
No, but it's just the rabbit hole of it. Like, this guy's talking about things like deep wrestling, like all these different, associations, federations, where you were, matches you did. Like, it had to be either somebody that works for you or like a real fan.
Real fans. There are people that come up to me and know more about me than I do. And they'll be like, March of 2005, that match. I'm like, yep. Yes. I so remember that.
I mean, because I was reading it and I'm like, oh my God, I don't know if I can go this deep in this stuff. Like, it was intimidating, but I guess like anything else, there are people that are just obsessed with it.
Yes.
And and you're like one of their heroes.
I'm actually one of them. I was so obsessed, I became a wrestler.
Well, how obsessed were you when you were a kid? Did you go to matches?
No, because they didn't travel much on the West Side. We would go to like closed circuit television, viewings. Yeah. But not so much live tapings. However, still, I obsessed over it. And then I took a little break, my teen years. I got into other things, like, New Kids on the Block and whatnot.
Right. The regular pop culture.
The regular pop culture. And then when the Attitude Era came around.
Will you explain that to me?
The Attitude Era with the like Stone Cold Steve Austin and The Rock and Triple H. When that popped up real big, and the Monday Night Wars between WWE and WCW, then I got re-immersed in wrestling, and I was like, yeah.
As a grown-up, kind of.
As a grown-up.
What does Attitude Era stand for? Why do they call it that?
Because, like, back then, it was like they would cut promos and not give a fuck.
Right.
Just, like, really raw promos and go out there, and it was, like, not as campy.
So that's what got you like back in it. Like,
yes.
Because it was so raw.
It was so raw. Who were
your favorite guys?
Stone Cold Steve Austin, Mick Foley, and The Rock. Like, at the time, I was a social worker, and in my office, it was just NSYNC, The Rock, and Harry Potter. That was like my obsession.
So you were a social worker. So you studied social work in college, and you became a social worker?
Yes.
Really?
Yeah. I didn't finish my degree. Right. Like, all you had to be was like 6 months away. Yeah. And like, I was like 6 months away for like 2 years. Yeah. Yeah. I stretched that out like really long.
Right. No reason to rush.
Right?
Yeah. If
I'm
you're
doing
working.
a good job here.
So I'm fascinated with social work. Because I don't talk to many people and I don't know what happens there. How do you work for the city then, or how does it work?
Well, I worked for a group home called St. Anne's in Los Angeles. Yeah. And I started off as like a social work counselor, and then I actually moved to I became their activities director because I love to do fun stuff. Yeah. And so from there, I kind of went sideways and got into the more really social aspect of it because I worked with pregnant and parenting teenagers. Yeah. And, they needed a break every now and then. Right. So I'd find activities for them to get away.
Get away from the kid?
Yeah, get away from the kid, or how to bond with their kid on an activity for a very low budget. So when they graduated out of St. Anne's, they knew how to do that.
Right. So you were actually at St. Anne's doing that? Like that was where your office was?
Yeah.
Wow. How long did you do that for?
I did that for about 3 years.
Was it rewarding?
It was very rewarding. Yeah. Yeah. I loved it to see the kids grow up and to see them learn life skills. Yeah, yeah. And they would come back and say hello once they left St. Anne's, and they're doing really well. And now some of them on Facebook, they find me and they're doing really well. Shout out to Teresa Alvarado. Yeah.
That's great. But wrestling was too much of a draw for you.
Yes. I mean, because, working in a group home, these girls lived there. Right. And there were times we had to separate fights and chairs are flying. And I'm like, shit. Yeah. If I'm going to get hit by a chair, I want it to be, in front of 30,000 people.
Now, when it's a group home, they're there because they've been put there by the state, or they had drug problems, or what? How does that work with a group home?
Sometimes both.
Yeah.
Maybe they were in a regular group home. They got pregnant, so, we took them in. Maybe their parents are like really, really old school. Instead of the convent, we got them, because we were like a Catholic related organization.
Yeah.
We had sisters, we had nuns running around the place and stuff.
Yeah.
And shout out to Sister Anthony Claire. So we got all types, and it was so odd because we got a 10-year-old once pregnant, and it was just like, what? And her baby daddy was like 40 something.
Really?
Oh, it was just like,
Did he go to jail, that guy?
No. And it was so hard to keep them, because they would have to sign out to go on leave. And then sometimes he'd like be around the corner to pick her up, and it would just like enrage you, just like you.
What the fuck?
So-and-so.
A 10-year-old?
10. And she just turned 11 like 2 weeks after she got to us. But when we got her, she was 10 years old.
Was she able to have the baby?
Yes.
Oh my God.
She was very grown for her age, but she shouldn't have been. She was 10 years old, but she had been grown up in the system, so it's amazing how grown up you have to be when you grow up in the system.
Well, I just don't understand why a guy like that doesn't get busted.
They worked on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it didn't happen.
I was gone by the time. I didn't see that resolve.
So we don't know. We
don't know.
You don't know how that battle ended.
No.
So you were there for like 3 years. What made wrestling like a practical thing in your head? Like, how did you realize, how did you decide, like, I can just do this? There's a path.
It was like a joke that went really, really far.
Yeah.
Like, it just kept going, and then it turned into a career. I thought, because once I left St. Anne's, I actually went over to an organization called Ep825 and headed up their youth program. And then I had my own business because I went on Wheel of Fortune, won like 10 grand, and I was like, okay.
Wait, you went on Wheel of Fortune?
I went on Wheel of Fortune.
Do you have video of that?
I don't. I'm sure like ABC or whomever does, but I went second generation because my mom went on Wheel of Fortune too.
She did?
Yeah, she.
So you're like a legacy?
I'm a Wheel of Fortune legacy.
So they let you in. It's like, oh yeah, her mom was on.
Yeah, come on in. We love legacies around here.
Did you tell Pat that?
I did. I did, and Vanna. They were great. I didn't get to the last round, but I got enough money to be very happy, and I bought a vending business, and then so I was doing very well at a very young age.
That's interesting. I know another guy did that vending business. Him and his brother did it in like I think in Philly or somewhere. You just you bought a bunch of machines?
Yep.
And how does that work? You just go around and say, can I put a machine here?
Well, you can find a company that will find a contract for you. And then they'll supply you with the machine and the contract with a business park, office or somewhere. And you just go in every so often and fill up the machines and collect your money.
And you were doing good with that?
Yeah, I was doing, I think if I'd stuck around with it and bought more machines, I would have done really well. But I had like 3 machines, and I liked it.
Yeah. You had 3 machines.
I had 3 machines, and they pulled off about $200 each a week, which was fair. And then I had heading up Ep825, so I was doing very.
What's Ep825 exactly?
Ep825 was an organization, a nonprofit for like AIDS awareness.
Right. And
I headed up their STAR program, which was Somebody's Talking About HIV Risk. And it was a youth program. We would go around to the schools and talk about HIV risk. And
wow. So you really were out there helping the people.
Yes, I'm all about community.
Yeah.
My house burned down twice when I was a kid, and we got a lot of help to rebuild, and I learned from that.
How does your house burn down twice?
I know, right? The first time was an electrical fire.
Yeah.
My little brother burnt some toast. They turned on the fan, and the fire started in the wall.
Oh, that's horrible because you don't see it.
You don't see it.
That happened in my house when I was a kid.
The whole house was asleep. We had just returned from Knott's Berry Farm real late the night before, and all I knew was I was asleep one minute, and then I was sitting on the curb the next.
Yeah.
That's all I knew, and the house was on fire.
Oh my God.
The next time my godbrother was in my room, of course, and was taking a nap, but he decided to light my pom-poms on fire. And if you remember pom-poms back in the day, they were very flammable. So you light it, it just went up, and it burnt only my room.
Yeah.
and all my Cabbage Patch Kids dolls and my Barbies in the Rockers van went up in smoke. And then the rest of the house got really bad smoke damage. Oh. But by God's grace, no one died.
Good. Either time.
So,
okay. So how does the joke of wrestling start?
My brother-in-law was watching MTV. And there was a show called Tough Enough.
Yeah.
And it was like, you know, if you want to be a WWE wrestler, you can come and try out and live in the house like the real world, basically. And then at the end, whoever's left standing gets like a WWE contract. And, you know, this is back when computers and the internet's kind of new.
Yeah.
And he's like, can you get me the application? And he said it's online. I don't know what that means. And I'm like, okay, yeah. I download it. I download one for myself, too. And I fill it out for shits and giggles, and I send it in, and I get a call saying, hey, come out to Vegas. We have this, like, big audition, and I go out there, and I stand in this line with thousands of other people, and I get in the ring, and they're like, yeah, no, you're too overweight to ever be successful in wrestling. And I was like, what? I did not drive my Kia. Yes, my name is Kia, and I drive a Kia. I did not drive my Kia through those mountains for you to tell me that. I wouldn't get out the ring. I was like, no, somebody else is asking me some other questions, because me and my mom and my best friend, no. My last little check, no. Somebody's asking me some more questions. And they did, but still they were like, shoo.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So then so that gave you this, you wanted revenge.
I just wanted to say, no, you don't dismiss me like that. So fire got put under my butt, and another friend of mine said, hey, there's a show, you know, if the weight's the problem, there's a show on Discovery Channel called Body Challenge.
Yeah.
And so it was like kind of like The Biggest Loser, but way before The Biggest Loser came about. And so I was actually too big for them, too. They were like, you know what? You're bigger than what we wanted to work with, but you are so fun and bubbly. We want, you know, we're going to take you on. And just like, kind of too big for the world.
An insult, but a compliment.
But a compliment.
Yeah.
And so they knew what I wanted to be, a wrestler, and they found a wrestling school out in San Bernardino, School of Hard Knocks. Yeah. And I started training there, and they set up a wrestling match for me.
Is that a famous place?
School of Hard Knocks?
Yeah.
In the wrestling industry, very respectable school, head by Jesse Hernandez.
Before I go on, though, it's like, I like that, you know, your avenue was always like through being a contestant.
Right? I had to crawl my way into scratching, my way into this
win 10 grand on Wheel of Fortune, and I'm gonna be a contestant on this MTV thing.
I didn't even put that together yet.
then here's the other angle. There's a weight loss show.
You can win a trip to Hawaii.
I'm going. I love it. But this was a school. Okay, so it's a respectable school. The guy's a real wrestler. Is it affiliated with a league as well? Like, do they do matches?
They do matches. Empire Wrestling Federation, EWF, is their affiliate wrestling federation. They do all kinds of matches all over Southern California.
So when you get there, what's the reaction?
A little skeptical, because, you know, I'm brand new to wrestling. Yeah. And when you come into wrestling.
And you're a contestant.
And I'm just like this contestant on the show, and I got cameras with me, and they're like, oh, here's this bitch with the big head. She's got cameras. She's, you know, snooty and snotty. But I don't think, at the beginning, they thought I was taking it seriously. Yeah. Like I was going to be this fly-by-night person. Right. That, and once the cameras was gone, I wasn't going to be interested in wrestling anymore.
And they probably thought, like, well, this will get promotion for the school, too.
Yeah, so why not do it, you know?
Yeah.
And it did, and, you know, and they still put on, the company's doing great to this day, EWF. And
so you stayed there and trained, though? You didn't, you shot with the show?
Yes.
And how long did that go on for, that show? Did anything come out of that? Did you lose the weight you wanted to?
I did lose the weight that I wanted to. I got very fit. Mm-hmm. And then they had set up a surprise meeting with China, may she rest in peace, at the time. And she was going back and forth to Japan. And so I went over to the New Japan Dojo to meet her.
Where's that?
That was in that was like in Santa Monica, West Los Angeles.
Wait, now okay, so wait, let's back up a minute. So you trained for a while. You learned how to wrestle.
Yeah, about 2 months.
Only 2 months. Mm-hmm. And what do you learn there? You learn basic moves, and what do you learn?
I basically knew how to run the ropes.
Yeah.
Throw a clothesline, and of course our foundation of taking bumps, falling, and whatnot.
Right, sure. Okay, so you knew that stuff.
I knew that.
So China, you met her, or?
I met her. Yeah. They had like, you know, for a segment of the show.
Oh, right.
It was like, hero. Meet your hero, you know.
Yeah.
And it was so funny because at the time I was a real big Lita fan, and they kept trying to make me say that China was my number one. And I was like, no, but I'm a really big Lita fan. I like China, but I'm a really big Lita fan. They were like, but if you could just say.
Yeah. So when you meet her, it seems like it means
right.
more.
It means more, but it did. I popped huge. I love her to death. And since she was doing that back and forth, there was a women's promotion, All Japan Women, and All Japan Women in Japan was huge in the 80s and early 90s. I mean, just a magnet.
For wrestling fans.
For wrestling.
Like, and just to work as well.
General pop culture, like it's like a Japanese national treasure.
Oh,
All
okay.
Japan Women.
And they had an office in L.A.?
No,
okay.
He came out just to find some talent for a big show that they had.
Right.
And me and another friend of mine, Shelly, we tried out, and she had years and years of experience.
Yeah.
And I just went just to figure out how, what you'd want to try out. Chose me, and I think mainly he chose me because I didn't have experience, and they could train me and mold me the way they wanted to, and not have to strip down any bad habits I had developed.
Right,
wrestling.
But they saw the skill. They saw that you could be a character, that you could do the thing.
Yes. I mean, because I grew up in high school, I was a cheerleader, so I knew how to bass very well, and that's very important.
Bass, what does that mean?
Like, if you're going to throw somebody or have to hold them up in the air, I know how to hold somebody up in the air and not drop them on their head. You get that from cheerleading, Because wrestling is like a big dance, a big, like, slam dance,
Yeah.
So I knew how to do that, and they could see that foundation, and they chose to bring me on and work with me. And
you go to Japan?
I go to Japan, and my job let me go for a week
at the
LA Shanti.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So you go, like, they choose you. You go to LA for a week, and you go to Japan for a week. What do you do?
It's weird.
It must be amazing to go to Japan the first time.
It was.
I want to go to Japan. I've never been to Japan.
Very nerd. They gave me some tapes of Japanese women's wrestling, and it was wild.
How is it different?
It's just so, like, in America, you can go like 12 minutes, and in the first 3-4 minutes, you're talking and jibber jabbering.
Yeah.
In Japan, you ring that bell,
you're fighting.
You're fighting. And, I mean, for a good 20-30 minutes, you are going at it.
Yeah.
Hardly, in America, we'll hit each other and we'll sell it a lot.
Yeah.
In Japan, they'll hit each other and get right back up and start just clawing at each other. So
it's really about the fight.
Yes. I mean, it's
not about the show necessarily.
Yeah, no, it's about this, they report kayfabe, which is like how we separate the magic from the viewers, is alive and well in Japan. Like, they report on wrestling in Japan like it's a sport, like right next to baseball and basketball. They report on wrestling that way.
So it's integrated into the culture, and nobody sits around going like, no, it's not real.
Yeah, they kind of, they kind of ignore the
the script,
script of it. Yeah.
So are the characters as defined there as they are in the States? Like, I mean, do the people, their personas, are they as dramatic and well defined?
Some are.
Yeah.
Some are, but most are filled with the fighting spirit.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, just all about the fire. Can you get back up after being slammed down by a person of my size?
Right.
Where's that fire?
Right. And that's what it's driving. That's what's driving it. Not ridiculous personas.
Not ridiculous. Not driving it. But you have a few, which makes it still fun.
So when you get there, you've got a limited amount of experience, and so what transpires and what ultimately makes you decide to do it for life?
Let me see. It's weird because my first wrestling name was Vixen.
That was from here.
That was from here, and I wore black leather because I just got fit, and I had big boobs and a big butt and a small waist, and So I go to Japan, and they want to name me Amazing Kong, and I didn't know how to feel about that. I was like,
just in what it implied in American culture.
Yes, I was like, I don't know if y'all know what that might mean in America. But so I had to actually this happened before I even went, because I went to the dojo, the New Japan dojo in LA, and one of the wrestlers, Shinsuke Nakamura, who's a WWE wrestler now, was like, "Oh, Amazing Kong. And he points at me and calls me Kong. And I'm like, what the fuck did you just call me?
Right.
What is this? What kind of racist country am I going to? And then he had showed me a magazine article saying, no, they named you Amazing Kong. And I'm like, oh. Okay.
Without you really getting into it?
Yeah, without even asking me or anything.
Well, what is the history of the name? What does it mean in Japan?
Well, it denotes strength more than, a racial slur.
Right.
And there's a wrestler named Aja Kong who is extremely famous in Japan. But at the time, I didn't really know about Aja's background.
Yeah.
And Aja, I hadn't been immersed in Japanese women's wrestling.
Right.
But I went home and I thought about it. And it's so funny, an NWA song came on.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, if NWA can be niggas with attitude and own it,
Right.
I could be Awesome or Amazing Kong and own it and make that name mean something.
Yes.
And so when people hear Amazing Kong, they fear and they respect that name.
Yeah.
To this day. Yeah.
Right. There's no implication.
And then I get to if I get to a place, if I'm famous enough, I get to a place where I get to help somebody else, then that endearment was worth it.
Right. And you did it. You pulled it off.
Yes.
Yeah. So now, are your folks supportive of this whole adventure of you entering and becoming a professional wrestler?
Yes. Well, they're supportive of everything I do, but it's always like Kia's on an adventure.
Yeah.
It's like, okay. So now she's going to be a wrestler, y'all.
Yeah. Right.
She went on before. Now she's going to be a wrestler. What else are you going to do? You're going to jump out of planes next, Kia, because you're always into something.
Right. But this one's stuck, I guess.
This one's stuck.
So once you get identified as Awesome Kong and you accept it, you move to Japan?
Yes, because the LA Shanti wouldn't let me go a second time. And I had this was just for one show, and I had no, real security. I had some savings, but, 4-6 months worth of savings.
Vending machines are gone?
Vending machines. I sold my vending machines, and I just sold everything. But I took a chance. I said, this is what I want to do. When I have kids, I want to tell them I did something wild and crazy when I was younger. Because if I'm a social worker now or in this business now, I can always come back to it.
Sure.
So why not take a chance and my plan was to devote 5 years and immerse myself in everything wrestling and see what happens after that. And and it worked.
And you went to Japan.
I went to Japan.
And you became a huge wrestling star.
Yes.
Awesome Kong.
Amazing Kong.
Amazing
there.
Kong.
Amazing Kong there. Awesome Kong here.
But Kong stuck.
Kong stuck. Couldn't shake the Kong.
Now, I have to assume that you're an anomaly. You're different.
Yes.
In Japan.
Yes.
I mean, it must have been sort of historical on some level.
Yeah. Semi. Aja was half black.
Yeah.
And half Japanese. But, I'm a darker shade of black.
Yeah.
So, I came out as a heel.
Yeah.
And it's so funny because I worked with the sweetest people who just cared for me totally out there.
Yeah.
But they would do they would request the most stereotypical stuff of me. And I'm like, I don't think y'all understand. That's not what all black people are about.
Like what we did on Glow?
Almost beyond. They'd be like, can you dance? You go in the ring and you dance. And I'm like, shh.
So you're there for how many years?
6.
Wow.
6 years. I thought I'd only stay for 2. I was like, I'll stay for 2 and then I'll go to.
And you're like a champion. You're like the.
Yes.
Yeah. And you're doing both heel and face?
Heel and face and tweener, it was just,
Tweeners, what is that?
Like in between.
Oh, really?
Like, depending on who you face. If you're facing a certain kind of face.
Yeah.
Or a certain kind of heel, maybe
Right.
you're in between just because of the size difference. And it was like, almost case by case. But if you're facing the favorite face, then you are seriously the heel. Yeah, so I was a tweener.
And how did the structure of the shows evolve? Was there a staff of writers? How did they do it there?
There was mostly a staff of bookers.
Yeah.
They didn't really write much. There was no script.
No, okay.
They would just, have the lineup. And then maybe at the end of the show, somebody would cut a promo that would, entice people to come to the next show.
Okay.
You know, like next show I'm going to challenge you for the belt, but not as intricate as in America with all the storylines we have in America. Not as intricate. Somewhat, but not really.
So I guess that goes back again to that the reality was it was about fighting more than character.
Yeah.
So, you know, like you're not necessarily following the line of like a character through the years.
No.
Or like, right.
I mean, but you have a character.
Yeah,
like
right.
Mine was just beastly.
Yeah.
But, which is why I got really good with telling expressions on my face, because the first 6 months, a year, I didn't really speak that great of Japanese.
Right.
So I just had to tell them the story with my face.
Well, they have a history of that too, don't they? Like kabuki theater and whatnot.
Yes.
Like, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you learn Japanese?
Ah.
Yeah. A little bit.
Skoshidake.
Yeah.
Yes.
You can do it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like my
enough.
friends say I have a speaking capacity of like a first grader. I'm like, I've had conversations with some sassy first graders, so
It's
yeah,
good.
okay. I'll take it.
So what makes you decide to come back?
It was time. Like something
Yeah.
just said, get up and go.
Right.
And there was no reason for it. I was doing well.
Right.
But it was like, you know what? No, get up and go, Kia. And I'm glad I did, because barely months after I returned, my mom got sick of cancer, and I took care of her, and barely 7 months later she died. So I feel very blessed
that you just like
that I wrapped everything up and came back on time, because
you could be there for her.
I could be there for her.
Oh, that's sad.
And then I moved on to TNA kind of right away,
which
it's,
is
total nonstop action wrestling Impact, and
that's a league.
That's a league.
Yeah.
That's like the second biggest league in America right now.
Next to WWE?
Next to WWE.
Okay.
You know, and that opened that door opened, and I went right on in, and they started a really wonderful women's program there, and just really elevated my profile in America.
But they changed you to Awesome Kong?
Awesome Kong. Yeah. You know, they wanted to own it.
Right.
Yeah.
That's the only reason? Like,
that was the only reason.
Amazing was fine, but they're like, fuck that.
Don't you like awesome? You know, amazing's great, but you're awesome. While they're like doing the trademark in the back.
Sure. Background. So you don't own your name?
No, I do not.
And the reason for that is what? Like, why do they own the names?
Because it's their company, and they came up with it.
So they can use it for video games, dolls, or whatever the hell else.
Yes, and they can control you.
Right.
And if you leave, you leave with just...
Yeah, with your old name.
With your original name. Yep, with your original name.
Kia.
Good luck with it.
Yeah.
Who knows ya?
Nobody. So they didn't have a big women's program?
No, not at all. It wasn't until me and about 6 other girls they hired at the exact same time, they started this really big women's program, and it gained traction. And like the women's program at that time was like the largest rated segments on the show.
Oh, wow.
And it just garnered a lot of respect from the fans, and just got bigger and bigger.
And by this time, you've got moves. You're pro. You know how to do it.
I know how to do it.
And you learned all that in Japan, really.
Learned it all in Japan.
Did you have tricks that they didn't know?
All the girls knew their stuff.
Right.
But then, you know, we all shared and traded secrets that we all picked up over the years. And stuff. Yeah, because, you know, like I said, in Japan, you hit hard. You go. And I mean, you go.
Yeah.
So I came in and like, bam.
Yeah.
And the girls go, hey, Kia, so, you know, we can lighten that up a bit and make it look just as powerful without the actual impact. I'm like, oh, so you don't want me to actually punch you in the face? Okay, I can do that.
So in Japan, you actually punch people in the face?
Well, you know... Yes,
people got hurt more.
Yeah, it was a little bit more hard hitting than it is in America. No, not a little. A lot more hard hitting than it is in America.
Still. And how long do you stay over there at TNA?
2 years the first time, a year the second time.
Why do you move around so much? Like, I was noticing that looking at your history. Like, there's a lot of matches, there's a lot of moving around. So, like, what happens? I mean,
oh gosh.
I mean, what?
Ask me that.
Well, you don't have to answer anything.
Well, you know, in Japan, it was Japan. Mm-hmm. Made good money, but it's not America.
Right.
Come to America, it's TNA. Made okay money.
Yeah.
But it's not WWE.
Right.
So you're constantly looking to elevate yourself.
To get into the big league.
To get into to where wrestling is going to actually take care of you, because, you have a finite amount of years to do this.
Right.
And then once you're done, you want to have a nest egg so you can enjoy life.
And you'd like to be able
retire.
to walk.
Yes.
There's that.
That too.
Yeah. And you don't want to have all your organs fucked up and everything else.
Yes, exactly.
It's hard. It seems like it's difficult to take care of yourself.
Yes, it's very difficult.
Because it's brutal.
It's extremely brutal. The falls are extremely brutal.
So the chase is really to get to the WWE somehow.
Somehow. That's where the money is.
And like when you're doing something like TNA, like is there a path? Do you know, like, what? Because like just as a comic, I mean, the big game is that you want to get on Letterman, you want to get a sitcom, or, you're going to do your stand-up and you're going to keep writing and you're going to keep working, but you're waiting for a break. So how does that work once you're a pro wrestler and you've got some name recognition? What do you have to go through? I mean, how many, after TNA you went where?
After TNA, I went straight to WWE.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, after a few months of my non-compete clause, then I went there.
Oh, so it happened for you. You didn't have to go do weird, sad matches in the middle of nowhere. And
I had to do that too.
Yeah.
The non-compete clause
is that the independent circuit?
Yeah, it's the independent circuit. I had to do that because my non-compete clause says you just can't go from us to another big television show.
So what is that independent circuit like? How do you find fights in that?
Mostly they find you.
Yeah.
If you have...
They hear you're out.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, good. There's another one that's really good. We can use her on this.
But,
and you didn't know what you were walking into. What is it?
You never knew. I mean, somebody, like, one time somebody tried to make up the difference in hot dogs.
No.
And I was like, no.
Oh, man. So, but were
it's
they
not going to travel well?
But they always met basic requirements, like a safe ring, some sort of venue.
Wish I would have requested that. No. Basic requirements was usually an air ticket and a hotel and transportation to and from the venue.
So you didn't know what the venue was, or whether the ring was anything, or whether there was a ring?
Whether there was a ring, or usually there was a ring, but whether it was safe or not, I don't know.
Oh, man.
It was just like, take care of yourself. Sometimes the boards would be warped and you have like a TP in the middle of the ring.
And crowds were hit or miss? Or usually they're good crowds?
Usually, if they brought someone like me in that had a semi-name, they would draw pretty well.
Yeah?
Yeah. And it was funny because sometimes they would draw, these independent shows would draw better than when TNA would go out on the road. And I was like...
Really?
Yeah, I was like, what's up with that?
Maybe ticket cost, or maybe
I think promotion.
And also, I bet you there's a lot of wrestling fans that prefer independent.
Probably,
they think they're like punk rock.
Yes.
Fuck TNA, fuck WWE.
Yeah, I'm
independent's where it's happening.
That's where, it's raw.
So you did that for a while, and then you get your WWE break?
Yes. And I was in Boston at the time, and I drive down there just thinking I was going to say, hi, I'm Kia, hello. And they hired me that day, and it was like a dream. It was just like floating on the air.
Yeah.
I was just happy just to walk in the building and say, hey,
yeah,
I walked in the building over there.
But they knew you.
Yes.
Like, your reputation preceded you and your skill set preceded you.
Yes.
It wasn't like you were some greenhorn that just came in. They didn't know, who is this woman?
No, they knew me from TNA and the independent circuit, because girls, I had never sent anything to WWE because I was waiting on my non-compete clause, but girls from the independent circuit that I faced, when they would send stuff in, they would send their best stuff in.
Right.
And their best stuff
was with you?
Was with me.
So they did your work for you.
Yes. Thank you, girls.
So you get hired, and it's like that's it. It's a dream come true.
It's a dream come true.
And you're gonna fight under Amazing Kong?
No, we came up with a different name.
Oh, because TNA owned Amazing Kong.
TNA owned Awesome Kong. So let's come up with
Kong.
they were like, if you had a magic wand, what would you want to be?
Yeah.
And I was like, you're giving me the wand? What? Boom, I want another Barbies in a record band.
Yeah.
No,
your house is going to have to burn down for that.
Right? Yeah. I came up with the name Karma. I came up with a bunch of different names.
Karma's a good name.
Thank you. Yes. But
it could go either way.
It could go either way.
Right.
Definitely. And I live my life through karma. I sternly believe you get what you put out there in the universe.
Right.
And it was like, 8 names I submitted, and some of them were ridiculous because I was like, it's wrestling, so they're gonna want like and I'm like their first BBW girl, so maybe I should pick a name that the initials are like BBW. How about Barcissa Be Wicked? Yes, Barcissa, yes, this is genius. Yes, whoa. And I picked up like some ridiculous names.
What is BBW?
Like a big, beautiful woman.
Okay.
That's what that stands for.
I'm sorry, I'm an old white man.
BBW, big, beautiful woman.
That's the abbreviation?
Yeah.
If you're texting or you put
okay. BBW,
got it.
big, beautiful woman.
Got it.
And so I'm like their first big BBW diva, so, maybe they're going to want me to be like, rah, ridiculous.
Yeah.
But no, that's not what they wanted. I'm like, hey, no. What do you want? And I put Karma. Karma was the last name. It was like a throw-in.
Yeah.
It was like, turn in your list in like 2 minutes. Okay. Karma.
Yeah.
And I'm going to spell it with an H because, they like to trademark shit. So here.
Yeah.
And Vince picked Karma.
Wow.
Yeah.
So how long before you start fighting?
About 2 months.
Now, do you have to decide
2-3 months
who
later.
decides outfits and stuff?
They wanted me to debut very big. And so
you already had long hair, right? You said
I had
didn't
braids.
You have like signature braids?
Yes,
just
signature
wild
braids.
Woman.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so they wanted a new, not a new look, but kind of kind of similar, kind of recognizable, but different. Mm-hmm. And so they found a seamstress in New York, and we made this Karma suit.
Yeah.
Or gear, battle gear, and I debut, and for about 4 weeks, it's just this massive debut. At first, they did like vignettes of me like breaking Barbie dolls, and people got excited, and they're like, yes. And then I debut, and I'm like killing it, and then the stick turned blue.
Oh shit!
Yeah.
Really?
Turned blue. Yeah. And I was like, fuck, what? Wait, time out. What? And it was
4 weeks in?
4 weeks in, man. And I was like, what? No. No.
Yeah.
And go to the doctor. She's like, congratulations. I'm like,
for what?
What? Oh, man, that's one thing you don't want to go to Vince McMahon with.
No.
And I had to go and to Vince McMahon and say, hey, you remember all that money you just put into me? And that big debut we had?
Yeah.
Can I take 9 months off, man? I'm going to have a baby.
But you had to do that.
I had to do that. And it's they were very supportive. Some people, though, congratulated me, and it was very obvious that they were like, congratulations.
Great.
You fucked up your career. But,
there was never a question as to whether you would have the baby or not?
For me, no.
Yeah.
It was...
Yeah, you have the baby.
I'm having a baby.
Yeah.
Sorry. So...
Were you with the man?
Yes.
Oh, good.
You met him, Dan.
Yeah, he's a good guy.
Yeah.
So, okay, so right at 4 week mark, when do you take... does it stop there?
Yeah.
Oh,
kind of immediately. I do like...
Because they don't want to put any more money in because in 3 months you're not going to be able to work.
Right. We do a promo with me in the ring. First day I'm crying, and the next day I cut a promo saying, hey, I'm having a baby. I'll be back. Thank you.
Yeah.
And whatnot. But it was not meant to be. Lost the baby.
Oh.
And that was emotionally really, soul crushing. To this day, it's very, very hard. Like when we filmed episode 2, I was very like, I don't know if I can be here right now. This is hard.
Wait, what happened in episode 2?
Melrose with the ketchup.
Oh.
And I was like, I
really?
I know nobody knows, but this is torture.
Wow.
But watching it at the premiere was funny as hell.
Yeah.
Oh gosh, I laughed so hard.
Well, there's a lot of stuff in the show that, like, I imagine, for me being the dick that I am on the show, is a little different. But some of the stuff that the women go through is like fucking, some real shit.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm there, but like I wasn't going to register a miscarriage in the same way. Certainly.
Right.
Yeah. So Well, how long into it before when that happened?
About 6 months.
Oh my God.
Yeah, late term. I had to deliver and everything. It had complications and, hospitalized in and out for a couple of months, blood transfusions. It was just hard. Yeah. So it took me a while to come back. I came back that January at the Royal Rumble, and that was the last time anyone saw me in WWE ever again.
On whose choice was that?
The companies.
Yeah.
I think they felt I wasn't in the shape or emotional space I needed to be on the road, and they were right.
They were.
Yeah.
Because you were just so broken up
I was
about
just
it.
very broken up.
How long did that last?
3 years.
Oh boy. And
to this day, but 3 years of very just, I'm in the house, I'm shut off from the world, don't talk to me. It'll be okay someday, but right now I just need to sit here.
So you didn't work at all?
I worked, but I was on autopilot.
Right.
You got to eat.
Yeah.
But I was on autopilot. I didn't socialize, but I would go do my thing.
Because you were just heartbroken.
Yeah. Just go do my thing and come back home, and that was it. Because thankfully, with wrestling, you only have to do it like maybe 5-6 times a month to keep things afloat.
What sort of gave way that enabled you to kind of start functioning again?
I think once, your body goes through changes, and once the hormones and the postpartum calms down, and Dan and I were on a good foot, and we had moved, and so we're in this new space, and then oddly TNA came back into my life, gave me a call and said, hey, we want you to come back. And I was like, well, okay, I'm not doing anything. I'm not really doing anything. I will come back as long as it's fun, and I'll stay as long as it's fun. Yeah. And I did. I stayed as long as it was fun. And once it wasn't fun anymore,
you left.
I was gone.
How long was that for?
A year.
Yeah.
Almost exactly.
But it helped you get out of the funk.
Oh, that year was such a blast because I just didn't care one way or the other. It was like, maybe this is my last year in wrestling. Have some fun. Right. And then deuces, Kia.
Yeah. And so you lasted, you stayed a year, and then it got not fun?
It got very not fun.
And then what happens?
I leave, and 2 months later I get a call saying, hey, Kia, there's a script about Glow, and I think you should read for it. And
who called you?
Brian Wittenstein. He's now my rep. He was a friend of mine in wrestling. Yeah. Back in my first TNA days. Yeah. And now he's a Hollywood agent. Uh-huh. And he gives me a call and he's like, there's this part. And it was for Cherry, actually. Yeah. And I didn't get Cherry. And I was like, oh, no. And he's like, but wait. There's more. Yeah. There's this other part. They liked your tape. They want, that word bubbly came up again. Yeah. They want you to read for something else. And I'm like, okay. And I was actually on my way to Japan at the time to do a show for Aja Kong, her 30th anniversary, and I'm in the airport and I'm reading the sides and everything, and we put it together and we send it in, and about a month later they called and said, yeah, you got Tamay, and I was like, yes.
Oh, and the rest is history.
And the rest is history.
Well, you did a great job.
Thank you.
And I think that, we had that one big scene together that you were nervous about, where you come into the office.
Oh, yeah, you remember that?
Yeah, I do.
I'm so nervous.
But you were so good.
Oh, thank you.
I was nervous, too. I was nervous the whole time, kind of. I didn't know.
I couldn't tell because you flowed. You watching you are Sam Sylvia.
I became that guy pretty good.
Yes.
But you were great. I mean, everything you did was great. And I even, there's a scene there, there's a brief moment where, when you take Betty's baby, that was just so beautiful. It seems to me that whatever experience you had, in performing, really enabled you. You were comfortable in your body and you were expressive and your emotions were right there all the time. Mm. And you knew how to act. I don't know if you knew you did, but you definitely did.
Well, thank you. I grew up in acting. I don't know if No. We didn't talk about that.
No, we didn't.
My mom was an actress.
Oh, really?
And then later transformed behind the camera. And, that's why she knew what to do to get on Wheel of Fortune, because she was an actress and dramatic.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she actually did a movie. She starred in a movie with Americana, a Glow Girl, called Provoked. Yeah. So I grew up going to auditions. I never got a principal part, but I did some, back then we called it extra work. Today we call it background work. My brother got some principal stuff. But yeah, I grew up on sets and stuff.
Oh, so you knew it.
Took drama, and I was a drama nerd in school, was in plays and whatnot.
Oh, so it was
entertainment's always been, and I, like Ruth, I thought wrestling would be my way in to entertainment. It took 15 effing years, but now I'm finally a principal actor on a show.
But that was, so in your mind, that was part of your original intention?
I mean, I loved wrestling.
Right.
But my mom always wanted to be like that star, but she put being a mom first and took care of her kids.
Right.
You know? And I thought, if I can get into wrestling, I mean, look at The Rock, you know? Because at the time he was doing, right when I got into wrestling, he was doing The Mummy, and he did the Scorpion King.
So you knew that was a possibility.
I knew that was a possibility. And then Stone Cold Steve Austin was on, like, the Chuck Norris, whatever Chuck Norris was doing at the time. Like,
something Texas Ranger.
Yes. And so I'm like, that's
And then you just got taken away by wrestling.
I did. I got mad. It sucked. I mean, because like it was just like very comfortable.
Yeah.
I knew how to do it in my sleep. Like I said, I was on autopilot during all my depression. So I was like, well, yeah, I know how to fight and play fights. So yeah.
So this was a big break. You this was part of the goal.
Yes.
It wasn't like, we took her away from wrestling.
No. No, it was not.
It's sad your mom couldn't see it.
It's very sad. She would, but Liz and Carly were great. They put little nods to her in the show, like on my headshot and back with some things that she did.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And, she later became the contestant coordinator for Family Feud. So they put in there that I was the audience coordinator for Family Feud.
Oh, that's sweet.
And so that was very sweet. Like me and my sister were like, gosh, why is she here just to see this?
Yeah. Now, what about your dad? Is he part of the thing? Does he?
My father lives in Pennsylvania. Well, I have two fathers. I have my biological father, and then my father who raised me, who's my papa. That's my daddy.
The one who was married to your mom.
The mom's, Tony Durant. That's my dad.
Yeah.
I'm a daddy's girl. He moved to Pennsylvania after my mom passed with his new girlfriend. It was really weird because she looks like my mom in a very weird way, and he was like dressing her in my mom's clothes. I'm like, oh, Daddy. Oh, Daddy.
What are you doing?
What are you doing? You poor. He loved her though. Like he loved her. So we kind of got it. We were like, oh, that's my mama stuff. Oh wait, that's right.
Yeah.
You're broken, dude. Go ahead. Go at it. Here's a jacket.
Is he still around?
Yes, my father is very, very. He checks in on me all the time.
Is he excited about the show?
Yeah, he called when I was on the way to the premiere, and he was like, I just saw you on the TV. Oh wow! I saw you you was on the commercial. You did good. And I was just like, oh, Papa.
That's sweet. And what about the biological dad? Did you ever find that guy?
I'm very. Yes, we know where he is. He knows where we are, and I'm very close. I was very close with my, his mom and his dad and my grandparents. He was just not part really, but it didn't matter because I had me a daddy.
Sure.
Yeah.
So you know where he is.
Yeah, I know where he is.
That's enough.
That's enough.
Well, look, I think I'm very excited for you. For the glow, and I hope we get another season because it was fun.
It was so fun,
and there's so much more to learn about so many of the characters.
Yes,
you included.
Yeah,
that's the most exciting thing about the possibility of another show. It's not really about the job as much as like what happens.
What happens? I'm with the rest of the world of like what happens.
Yeah,
what happens next?
We don't know.
None
of us know.
Well,
I think we'll find out pretty soon.
Yes.
Well, I got a question then. Like, was there like when we were getting the scripts? Was there did you have any similar issues that your character had with Welfare Queen as you, Kia?
Yeah, being named Kong. It was like, okay, I'm Welfare Queen. And then Kong I had a problem with. Yeah. And it's like, what do you do with that? So,
you applied the same sort of reasoning.
I applied the same sort of, reasoning, and I'm going to own it. And that's what Tamay does. She's like, yeah, I'm going to... Y'all didn't ghettoize my people.
It was great. It really plays. The weird thing is that so much of it doesn't seem that dated.
Right.
that the issues still persist.
Right.
Right?
Like, seriously, when you think about it.
Even more now, yeah.
Yeah, we still got Russia themes playing to this day.
Terrorist themes.
Yes.
You know, class themes, race themes.
Man.
Yeah, it's really, because I know that when we were shooting it, you know, we were there the night of the election. It was like devastating. Like
yes.
that set was just devastating.
Yes.
Yeah, and so much of it was written with this sort of, you know, swagger and confidence of heading into the first female president.
Sure was.
And then now that did not happen, and, you know, the opposite really happened of everything we had gotten comfortable with. I you know, sadly think that the show means more.
Yes.
You know, do you feel that?
Oh, I feel that, definitely.
It's wild. Sad but wild.
Sad
good.
but
Sad
wild.
and good.
Yes. Something to cling to.
Yeah. Well, good. Well, I hope to see you in a couple months.
Yes, me too, Mark.
Thanks, Kia.
Thank you.
See that? You never know how you're going to arrive where you want to be, if you're lucky. So again, have a safe 4th. Do I need to play guitar? Yeah, I'll do it next week. All right, be careful, will you? Boomer lives!